Welcome to TeNaK Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with a spontaneous recording of the testimony for TeNaK Talk, brought to you by Johnny Womack by special request. Johnny, thank you, my friend. That's something I should have been thinking about a long time ago, and I don't know. This is great. This is a good opportunity for people to hear the story of TeNaK Talk, not just the story of William Hall. So, and by the way, another shout out. Thank you so much. I got to find out where to go. Hold on just a minute. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to find a specific message. There it is. Nancy Brown. Thank you. Thank you. I'd been just going on, and I wasn't paying attention to my sound meters, and I had no intention of recording tonight at all. That's how spontaneous this actually was. I mean, I didn't even set the chroma key. The green screen's not right. You could see through my hat, in other words, if you look close enough, so I'll try to keep that as a low distraction. And I didn't have my wires hooked in. I just started recording like I thought it was actually everything was lined up properly. So that was great. Thank you so much, very much, Nancy. So basically, we're this is neat. Okay, let me see if I can start over without leaving anything out. Most everything was very important. So basically, I feel like my voice is a little too high. Let me back this down just to check 1 2 3. Check testing. Check. That's pretty good. Okay. So basically, TeNaK Talk started realistically. Ira Michaelson was probably the biggest key player in helping TeNaK Talk take root. Before Ira Michaelson, if you don't know Ira, you should friend him on Facebook. He's a wonderful man. He comes, does tour of our show from time to time here. We've got several really good videos on him, by the way. As far as one of them actually was his testimony. So if you'll send me a message, I'll send you that link. Before Ira, though, was a dear friend of mine, Cherryholmes Jr., who we're still great friends. I met him at my dad's Messianic synagogue. My dad is a self-appointed Messianic rabbi. I have to add that in there because it was number one, he's not Jewish. That's not the point. That's not the point of this broadcast. But Lon was actually born into the Messianic movement, which is very for me, it's very rare just to meet somebody who was introduced to faith in just the Messianic, not Christian. So he had a very interesting journey himself. He converted to Judaism. He has lived in Israel. He teaches Hebrew. He doesn't live there now, but he lived there for about 7 or 8 years. Now he's a school teacher actually here in the States in Dallas. So anyway, to make a long story shorter, or a long story even longer, shall I say. So Lon kind of introduced me to the idea of the counter-missionary movement. And of course I wasn't ready for it at the time. I was literally, this is no joke. If you know Rabbi Eli Cohen on Facebook, he also is joined with Rabbi Michael Skobac with Jews for Judaism. And anyway, I'd seen a couple of his posts, and I would, as a Messianic, I would actually go on there and try to explain the Messianic view on things, hoping to sway him. Oh man, that's funny. The more I think about that, this shit just gets funnier because the more I learn, the more I'm thinking, even as much as I thought that I knew, it was literally so ridiculous. It was just like, anyway, make a long story. I've got to keep moving forward here. So I was introduced to James Wood Jr.'s book, believe it or not, through my wife. She is the one who, she was terrified. She was raised Catholic. If you watch my testimony, you'll hear the full story on that. I think that was about 1.5 years ago. You can find it on the YouTube channel. But she was raised Catholic, dedicated Catholic. She wasn't Catholic because her family was Catholic. She was like very, very, very dedicated Catholic lady. And anyway, so I brought her out of Catholicism. We went to a non-denominational church in Tennessee, World Outreach, and that's where we spent most of our time, 7 or 8 years before we moved back to Texas, where I met my dad's Messianic group there, and basically at that point abandoned Christianity and went Messianic. So anyway, so my wife is she senses some changes going on in the way I was doing our services at home. We would have guests come to the house. We probably had a total of about 10, 11, 12 13, 14, I don't know, somewhere in that range, just total people who would associate with us. At any given time, there was only between 3 and 6 people would show up at a time. Pardon me. So what I would do is after I read this book, Leaving Jesus, which my wife asked me to read. I'm jumping around. I need to close on a thought. My wife sends me this book. She says, I want you to read this book. Because she knew that I was changing. She said, but if it has anything to do with leaving Jesus, I don't want to know about it. So I read the book that day. Read the whole book. I just went through. It was the audio form, so I had 3 hours on the road, so I just plowed through this book, and that book sealed my fate. I mean, that it really closed in on everything I was questioning with really good, solid proof. And he even cited Rabbi Singer's a lot of his resources and some other things. And so for me, that was I guess you could say the deal breaker, or the nail in the final nail in the coffin, if you will, of the cross of Jesus, so to speak. And so that was the very first step. Once that was done, my friend-in-law Cherryholmes, he the one who introduced me to the counter-missionary movement, he basically offered to do a teaching. I asked him if he would be willing to come down and just do like an all-day seminar. So he had like this 4 or 5 different classes he was going to teach that day, and about 7 or 8 people, 9 people actually came, which is more than I thought. I didn't think anybody would come. And so here he is. He teaches Hebrew class, and he teaches a little bit on the Talmud, and then he goes on in the end. And the final class of the evening was an introduction to why Jews don't believe in Jesus. And so whenever he found out that, let me see this message. It could be telling me something I'm clipping or something. Let me make sure I'm not too hot. Oh, I don't know. Hold on, let me tell David Kahn. He's messaging me. Let me tell him I'm recording now. Anyway, I do apologize. So I forgot to turn this thing down. All right, here we go. Again, I was not prepared to be in here tonight, but it was spontaneously provoked, and I thought that since I'm here, I might as well do it. And so anyway, so Lon comes down. He does this whole all-day seminar, and then we're done. And then about some period of time later, Ira Michaelson, who I really would like to contribute as probably the main teacher who really helped initiate TeNaK Talk. Him not knowing that, but I knew, because about 3 years prior in the Messianic movement, I knew some people who were doing podcasts. They were just audio. And I was really wanting to do that myself, but I had no clue how to do it, so I dropped the idea altogether. I just completely dropped it. And so here I am. Ira were communicating on Facebook, and he said, I noticed that you were doing a counter-missionary type thing. If if they ever needed something, I can't remember. But anyway, at the end of the day, I asked him if he would be willing to come down sometime and actually hold a seminar himself. And I knew he had a lot of followers on Facebook, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to maybe invite more people here to hear him speak. And so he came, and we had about a dozen people or so who showed up, had a great all-day thing. He was actually going to Houston the following day. So what's really awesome is Rabbi Stuart Federer from Houston actually came down also. He was one of the people who attended. It might have been more than a dozen. I can't remember who showed up. But around a dozen, 10, 12, 14 people showed up. And so he stayed, and then he went back to Houston the following day, and Rabbi Federer took him there. And so so that was really great. The whole entire day was just filled with so much amazing information, stuff that you just would never see. I kind of look at Christianity. In fact, I got to remember to post something on this. I got to kind of look at Christianity like a microscope. You've got the different settings of a microscope, and as you turn it more, you can zoom in more and more and more. Well, on the surface, it may look one way, but when you zoom in with the microscope, you find out that it's nothing like you ever imagined. And that's kind of how it was with this whole move. And so Ira's gone, and but he kind of paved the way for the lineup of guests who are actually here now. Rabbi Tovia Singer, Rabbi Michael Skobac, Rabbi Eli Cohen. We have Simcha Jacobovich, who has appeared once. He's going to be coming back soon. And a lot of people, I've got Mendel Kaplan from Chabad.org, who's going to be coming on. Rabbi Manny Friedman, who has also agreed to come on. And we're going to be contacting here again here in a few weeks. And so, Ira Michaelson, huge thank you for coming, because a lot of these people already know you, and it really kind of put my goal, even though there was no title to it. TeNaK Talk didn't exist at that time. You kind of paved the way. You kind of laid down the path for the others to walk on, and so. Months later had passed. I'd been contacting Rabbi Tovia Singer. In fact, I contacted him earlier, several months before Lon and Ira. He answered the phone. He talked to me on the phone, and I basically asked him what it would take to get him to come from New York or Israel. I think at the time he was in Israel. What it would take to get him here to do a seminar, and maybe that's why I invited Ira, is because I invited him and he couldn't come. I don't remember, but anyway, he kind of told me, and it was right around the parameters that I had already expected, so it was no surprise. It just put things on the back burner, and so Ira comes, and then a little bit later, I call Rabbi Singer again, and I sent him a few emails. We talk. And he said, well, I'm coming to Houston in, August of, I think it was 2014. And I told him that'd be great. I said, would you be willing to actually stop by here instead of flying into Houston? Okay, now this is where TeNaK Talk begins. Okay, so if you're interested in this topic, this will be where you really want to pay attention. So he said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, I've got to fly to Houston, and he goes, maybe we can arrange something. I said, well, why don't you reconsider and fly into Austin instead? I said, I think you're friends with Ira Michaelson, and I said, he's been here. You could talk with him, if you have any questions about anything. And so I think over a day or two had passed, and we had talked, and he had changed his flights. All of a sudden now, instead of going to Houston, Rabbi Tovia Singer is actually coming to Austin, Texas, and I'm going to go pick him up. I live about an hour and a half from Austin, from the airport, about an hour and 35 minutes from the airport. And we were scheduled to start at 7 p.m. on whatever day it was. I can't even remember now. Sunday, maybe. Anyway, we were going to start at 7 p.m. And everybody, it was already set up. I mean, we had like 30, 40 people were coming. Were going to be coming. And so a lot of people were coming from out of town, like literally driving 2-3 hours to get here to meet Rabbi Singer. And so Rabbi Singer sent, I asked him to send some of his books just in case people wanted to buy them. So he shipped some to our house. And we had all that waiting and ready. And then about 5 o'clock or so, he said his flight got delayed. So I send out messages to everyone. I think it was 5. The time really isn't totally relevant, but the storyline itself at the end is what's important. So he says, well, my flight's been delayed. He says, I'm not going to be able to be there at time for you to get me at your house at 7 o'clock. It's going to be more like 8:30, whatever. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's not a problem. Well, midnight, I don't really care. And so he, anyway, so time goes on, about another 30 minutes pass, and I'm now leaving to go to Austin. And while I'm driving on my way to Austin, I get another call. He says the flight's been delayed again. They think that there's some mechanical problems with the plane. Well, see, they've only got one flight from where he's flying out of into Austin. The other flight, the only other available flight is into Houston, and it's at a later time. And so I said, this is no problem. I'll just, he said, but I'm not going to get into the airport till like maybe 9 o'clock. And so I let everybody know ahead of time. And so a lot of the crowd, about half the crowd, decided to cancel because they knew he wasn't coming. And, but they missed out because we had a good time anyway. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So, anyway, I'm driving to Austin. I've already paid for this $20, $25 kosher meal from HEB at the kosher deli, and I had it ready and waiting for him. And he says, William, he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, man, my flight just got canceled. He said it was delayed, and then it was canceled. He goes, I've got to fly straight to Houston. I was like, it's not a big deal. Just fly safe, whatever, no problem. I'll come to Houston tomorrow, and I would like to shake your hand, like to meet you, whatever the case may be. And so we kind of, so I turned around. I went home. I enjoyed a very, very expensive kosher dinner and drove home. And when I got home, I don't remember what time it was, but I got home and we were there just talking. We were fellowship because my wife had made all this food, and we had these people here. Met some new people from around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we're sitting there, and I get a call from Rabbi Singer, and he goes, William, he goes, do you have Skype? I said, yes, I have Skype. He goes, I've got a few minutes before the flight. So he said, why don't you put me on Skype? And he goes, people can ask me questions. I was like, dude, this is great. So there it began. I had a big screen TV, like mounted to the wall or something like that, plugged in my computer, and we had Rabbi Tovia Singer on Skype. No microphones, no nothing, just the TV volume all together, and he was just flooded with questions. It was awesome. It was awesome. Sorry, this is still tender. Anyway, so we had a really, really good time. It seemed like for an hour and a half, we sat there and asked Rabbi questions, and they would ask questions, and they would see him talking back directly to him. It was so much fun. Rabbi Singer loved it. He had a great time. And the whole night, it was really funny because Rabbi Singer was so dedicated to this moment. He was he was walking on the plane with his laptop open and his camera on, and the stewardess is passing, and it's a couple times I think I heard them say, you're gonna have to sit down, but I don't know. But anyway, Rabbi Singer was just like so focused on that laptop. It was so funny, and he stayed in there the entire time until he just couldn't do it anymore. And it turned out where, I hope this thing still records. Yeah, there it goes. Sometimes whenever this thing blacks out. Okay, yeah, it's jittery. Don't worry about this. I'll try to sit still so you're not distracted. I didn't have enough activity, and Wirecast will freeze up from time to time, but we are still streaming. The camera will be jittery at this point, but that's okay. So anyway, he does this whole thing, and had a great time. So we go to Houston, okay, the next day, and I meet Rabbi Singer there, and me and Lon Cherryholmes had come down. And by the way, if what you're seeing right now seems to be a distraction, send me a message on Facebook if something isn't coming through right, and I will try to address this situation somehow or another. But if it's okay and it's just the video that's jittery, then we'll just continue on. I'll try to get there quicker because this is obviously taking longer than 15 minutes. So anyway, this whole scenario, moved to Houston. We met Rabbi Singer, had Lon with me and his friend Daniel from Israel, and we're at this debate in Houston. I meet a lot of Facebook friends there, and we're leaving the college campus, walking down the sidewalk out to where Rabbi's parked, and it was really interesting because Rabbi says, William, he goes, I want you to put together a podcast or a video, whatever. And I think he was really expecting just like an audio thing, but I was like, in my mind, I had this thing visioned with the video. I mean, a full-blown production, And anyway, make a long story short, I was like, okay, he said, I want to do this like on a regular basis. I want to have people where they can call in and ask questions, et cetera, et cetera. And so we did. And so I didn't know anything how to do it. So Travis, a friend of mine, I'll spare his last name by his request for now. But anyway, he set the whole thing up like in a week. He picked a TeNaK Talk name. He created the website TeNaK Talk. He asked me about everything beforehand. I was like, oh, this is great, perfect. You don't need to do anything, just that's perfect. And so all this stuff was set up like within a week and a half. And next thing you know, we're doing our first broadcast at Travis's house using all his equipment. And this whole thing just took root. And I think because there was, I really believe that Hashem's hand is in it for sure. Because one thing I've experienced in my past is when you're doing things that does please Hashem, he tends to open up doors for you. And this has already gone beyond where I had imagined, I mean, our YouTube channel now, we've got about 1,800 or 1,900 subscribers. And I think there is probably around 260,000 views in a year and a half. Now, granted, you can find pictures or videos of naked women who will get 10 million views in one day, but this is a different genre. This is not something most people are interested in. So for having that many views, I think is really a testimony to the truth that is in the TeNaK and the people who are wanting to actually seek for it, and people who are coming out of idolatry altogether. And so it's been that's pretty much the story, And later on, whenever Rabbi Singer came on, we did maybe 10, 20 episodes, and then I contacted Rabbi Skobac, and he was very much obliged to do so. And then after that, it kind of unfolded from there. Sorry, I wished I could get into more detail, but the actual jittery video, it looks like it actually smoothed out now. Well, that's good to know. Maybe it's a new update thing. Okay, so didn't have much to worry about after all. So anyway, so that's basically the story of TeNaK Talk, how it came about. And for all those who are curious, is this a fad? And no, this is not. I mean, this is something I pray that will be around for a long time to come. I hope that the next face of TeNaK Talk is my 10-year-old son, who will later be old enough to do this, and it'll be just a constant journey of just bringing educated people on to teach us more and more about TeNaK and the ways to please Hashem. And so if you look at the Facebook page for TeNaK Talk, and you'll see some of the posts, you'll find the future agenda of the genre of videos that we're going to try to produce here. And again, it is just me. When I say we, it's me and my family, really. I don't have anybody assisting inside the studio for all of this. So if you see videos that tend to be one segment starting at the wrong time or an overlap showing up, it's just there's like 50 different buttons to push, and I got 2 hands to do it with. So just be patient there. I'll eventually get better at it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you really enjoyed TeNaK Talk and you would like to extend some assistance, that would be great. It's not overall, it's not an expensive operation, but just to give you some added insight on how where my life is with my family is, my wife homeschools the children. We've got 2 kids, and of course, homeschooling is not free like public schools are. And so my work, because I travel to get to work, there's a lot of really crazy monotonous expenses that take place. And like this monitor right here, I don't know if you can see this one here, but this one just went out this weekend, so I've got to get that replaced soon. And anyway, it's one of these things where it's not free to operate, and it's not really expensive like all at one time. But I've been running TeNaK Talk for been about a year and a half now. We've got well over 150 videos, I think, and throughout that time we've invested a lot of money out of pocket to make this happen, and it definitely strains the budget, and we've got some people who have actually become patrons. We've got about 6 or 7 people who have signed up to contribute monthly, which is good. I think we're up to about $350 a month, which is good. That'll almost cover our immediate expenses that we have on a regular basis with rent and cable and other things. And so anyway, that's really not where I intended to go. It just sort of dominoed on that. So, but I really do appreciate all of you. I mean, so many of you have connected with me on Facebook. There's about 2,000, I don't remember the number, somewhere around 2,000 likes on Facebook, and I'm only friends with about 600 of them. So there's like, a good 1,400 people on Facebook who like the Facebook page. I mean, send me a friend request if you want. That'd be fine. I would love that. I'd like to be in communication. I try to answer, and like I said, if you send me emails or anything, granted, I'm not as busy as Rabbi Singer is, but I'm not doing TeNaK Talk full time. So it turns out where because I'm not doing TeNaK Talk full time, I don't have. It really stresses me out time wise to be able to fulfill my work obligations and still have time to check emails and do edits. Like just more insight for you. For me to produce a 2-hour video with Rabbi Singer, it usually takes me about 4.5 hours because I've got to prepare beforehand. We've got editing afterwards. I've got time stamping and just so many aspects of TeNaK Talk that I wished I had more time to do. I just don't, because I've got to maintain my business so we can keep food on the table and stuff. So when I get emails from people, it turns out to where a lot of them I can't even respond to, because especially if they're really long reads. Usually when I check my TeNaK Talk email, it's in passing because I'm just constantly on the move. And so I can only imagine how Rabbi Singer feels getting just hundreds of emails like on a regular basis. There's no way I could keep up with that. So, and again, I work alone. This is one of these days, like I said, my children will be old enough to where they can assist, but right now it's just me. So please be patient with me. If you send me emails and you want something direct communication, granted, every once in a while I'll be able to actually answer them. Something will jump out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get with this right away. So, but most of the time I'm just so swamped and so flooded for me to answer like emails and things that TeNaK Talk demands really dips into the only free family time that I have with my wife and kids. And granted that there's not much of that even for them because of my full-time work schedule and such. So, but anyway, I really do appreciate all of you. I really thank you all for tuning in and supporting us one way or the other. And so just be sure, tell your friends about us and keep us in your prayers for sure. And like I said, we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. So I really just, like I said, just really appreciate having all of you here. So, and cheers. That's all I can say. It's getting to that emotional point again. So I'm going to pass this song. Until later, shalom, shalom to you and to your family and to your home. And I look forward to seeing you on the next show, which will probably be this coming Sunday for a full lineup. Shalom, shalom, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.